It's time for another Elsie's Little Pickles. It's the Pickle Pod for the people of the pickle world, the brine, the barrel, the bluster, and the booze. Not just the booze we're drinking, but also the booze because it's the Halloween season.
That's right. The people of the brine.
Gather round and hear your tale. Fucking ridiculous. So it's counting down, man.
I like that.
It's a countdown.
Hear your tale.
Let me tell you your tale. I went full Vincent Price. Bah, ha, ha, ha. So it's the season for the reason. It's Halloween, and we're getting closer and closer. We are looking at like 2 weeks away from Halloween, so we want to get as many Halloween things in as we possibly can.
I actually felt a tinge of sadness at the grocery store today because walking through the Halloween stuff, this little kid behind me says to his dad, it's 20 days from today is Halloween. And I immediately was like, only 20 days.
Yeah, only 20. That's not enough time to prepare.
No.
So yeah,
you need to start that early.
I don't know why, but maybe it's mainly being around you so much, but I definitely feel like we got to jam as much cool Halloween talk into this month as possible. And the main reason is because typically it's very politically driven on this podcast, and typically we're talking about things that are wrong in the world, and there's nothing that is more right than Halloween. Out of all the holidays, at least in my opinion, Halloween is the one holiday where you can just kick back and have the fantasy and enjoy the silliness and
wait, fantasy? Does that mean I have to set loose the girl that I kidnapped?
No, that's part of your
right.
That's part of your fantasy. You have at that. But the idea of creating the costume, or buying the costume, or putting together your costume, the idea of how many different parties you may or may not go to, or if you're going to wear your costume aside from Halloween. Like I see some people wearing costumes already in stores that are working there. Nothing major, but maybe your checkout lady has cat ears and some cat makeup on or something. Just showing that they're part of the season and part of the holiday.
How do I explain this? There are times where, like, I love dressing up. I love Halloween, but I also love taking the piss out of someone. If I detect a little bit of, oh, look at me. Look how awesome my costume is. I do that with a couple of friends.
Yeah, but you mainly do that with kids when they're saying trick or treat, and I think that's shitty. I don't think you should be like, oh, you're Superman. Oh, try to lift me, Superman. You know what I mean? I remember the one Halloween you were like, everyone's afraid of Dracula. I just hit him with my car. What's the big deal? He's only about 4 feet tall.
Well, the only time I saw you object to it was when the kid told me he was Superman. And I was like, I got your kryptonite, and I farted on his face.
He cried. He cried.
Here's your kryptonite.
So yeah, I do.
A friend of mine dressed up. He was all like, "Oh, check out! I spent so much time and blah 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 blah." That's cool. What are you going to dress up for Halloween as?
What was his costume?
Oh, I don't even remember.
That bad, huh?
It was that forgettable.
Yeah.
I just like to.
I'll tell you my favorite one ever. I was in a very, very odd mood that particular Halloween, and it was one where it might have even been my senior year. It was in that area. I don't know if I was still in high school or just out of it. It was in between junior year and being 20 years old. And somebody was throwing a Halloween party, and it was costumes required. And I showed up holding a golf club, a driver, right? And they're like, you can't come in. You don't have a costume. I said, what are you talking about? And I held up the golf club and I went, I'm a designated driver. And people either loved it.
Sly fox.
They either loved it or they hated it. It was one of those ones where it was like, there was no in between. There was no in between. People either thought, my God, that is so good. You got away without having to put makeup on or wear the, fucking weird shit and da da da. I'm like, yeah, I just showed up in my regular clothes holding a golf club and I'm like, I'm designated driver.
Oh, that's great.
Anyways, moving along, what do we got?
So I'm going to keep it simple to one piece of news. And I'm not going to just read you the headline. Let me put you into the situation.
Okay.
So picture yourself, you're in the hurricane zone, Florida, right. The Carolinas. Yeah, you got no electricity. You're trying to survive. And Elon Musk comes along, with his drone dropping off the Starlink, because that's going to be your ticket to outside help.
Yeah. Thanks, Elon. Thank you.
Or, you got no, you're running low on food, but you got some porn. And
honestly, I can make it. If it's food or porn, I can make it with the porn.
So he's giving out, how many, what was it? Like 500 Starlinks?
I have no idea on this one.
Okay.
Because
it's right around 500.
After he jumped up in the air at the Trump rally in Butler and I saw his belly, I was like, I can't read any Elon news or posts for at least a month. I saw the white underbelly.
Well, now imagine 30 days from now when you get the bill for $400 and $120. $120, yeah, for service.
Oh, that'd be disappointing now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, not exactly free.
But he's trying to help.
What's free is the 30 days of service.
Yeah.
And then it's $120. But plus $400 plus shipping, handling, and taxes.
Well, I mean, look, part of that, I would say, you can't expect anyone to give something away necessarily for free. I mean, no matter how rich they are, I get it. Company, like if what they were doing was, this is our cost. All we're asking is you cover the cost. Okay, I'm in. You know what I mean? If
half my house is gone, but here's $400 in service.
But if I was under the impression that this was a gift and it was free, and then I got a bill, yeah, I'd be pissed. I think that's the difference.
I'm going to take off my cowboy hat.
I think you should. Whoa, look at that head. And again, it's not, I don't, so the way I look at things, and I've done benefits. I've done a number of benefits, okay? And I'm happy to give all of the proceeds. Well, that's the word, proceeds.
Yes.
It doesn't take into account paying me for, or at least covering my costs. So I've done benefits in different ways. I've shown up to benefits where I've done them absolutely out of the generosity of my heart. I've covered all the expenses on my own. I've paid for my gas. I've paid for my hotel. I've paid for my airfare, whatever, car rental. I have done that when I've been able to. But in general, when you say proceeds, what you're saying is once the expenses, just the cost, nothing more, no profit, just the expense of all of this has been covered, then everything after the expense goes to you. And I think that that's the fairest way to do it, because you're really asking people at some point to dig way deeper into their pockets, no matter how deep their pockets may be. And they may not want to. You know what I mean? Like, there's been benefits where I was happy to give my time and my money and, everything to it. But there's also been benefits where it's like, look, I'm doing this. I think it's a good cause, but it's not my cause. So I'm not as willing to, maybe take the hit. At least cover my expenses. cover my gas or cover my hotel or whatever. I'll donate my time. What I won't donate is more than everyone else in the audience or everyone else out there. I'm not willing to do that.
I'm just saying that it just kind of seems like a shitty deal, because that's over $250,000 he's going to be expecting back.
Yeah, but I mean, again,
how many of those people
really think,
don't understand the money they're going to have to fork out?
I think probably all of them don't understand. I think right now they're so fucked up from the environment that they like yesterday they had a house, today they don't. I mean,
I just feel like it's a bit of a gut punch.
The whole fucking thing is a bit of a gut punch, though, don't you think?
Yeah, obviously.
I think the intention.
I'm just thinking 30 days from now, their life might be coming closer to something that is normal, or normalized, or
so what would you
better at the
so what would you do in this circumstance? Would you just donate it donate the equipment?
I think most people think it is a donation rather than here's 30 days of free access.
I think that in full disclosure that those packages should say, if you do this is going to be the case, and this is the charges you will incur. I definitely agree with you on that. And then allowing people to go, I'm able to incur those charges, and this is important enough for me to want to incur those charges. I definitely agree with you on that. What I don't agree with is the assumption that just because this stuff comes, that it's absolutely free. I don't think, if it's a case of water, that's one thing. But when you're talking about electronic equipment to get you online, granted, that is a necessity that has to happen down there. But I think the vast majority of the people that are probably going to end up getting those things and using those things are either going to be FEMA related in order to get people internet access so they can start making their claims. So when it's going through the government, then the government should not expect that this is a donation. I do think that Elon and his company, Starlink, should be very clear about what the charges are. It should be laid out, with instructions either on or in the box before you take it. And you need to agree to that before you take it.
On top of that, these things need electricity to work. So for the people who still don't have electricity, you will still not have Starlink.
And maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think that there's a small, like almost backpack type one that is essentially the size of a laptop. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could be absolutely wrong on this, but I believe you can solar power it. And it may even come with that, with the solar power, like the little solar panel that you can. And I'm not sure, you know what I mean? But I would be remiss to believe that Starlink, forget Elon, just Starlink in general, the people that, because everyone goes, well, Elon's sending. Well, no, Elon's not. Elon just said, hey, guys over at Starlink, I want this to happen. And it's the people at Starlink that have to actually, put the whole project together and make it happen and carry it out. So there's other people involved in this whole thing. And they, again, they deserve a paycheck. They're doing the work. I don't, under even the most dire circumstances, I'm not somebody that believes that much more than food and water should be looked upon as a donation. Food, water, and then kind of everything else falls under FEMA in as far as like the responsibility as far as shelter, whether it's local, state, or national government, they should be the ones that are providing these things. And it's great when big tech comes in and helps out as they can, but I don't think that should be assumed as a donation. I think a lot of people look at Elon and they go, he's got, billions of dollars, so he should just give everyone everything. Well, if that were me, I don't know that I would be as generous as I felt I could be, but that's just this circumstance. And don't I have to have the ability to be generous in future circumstances? So like if Elon and Starlink during Helena blew their entire nut on giving out Starlink to Helena victims, wouldn't the people in Milton be upset that they didn't get the same? Okay, well, now I've got to dig deeper. And what happens if there's another hurricane and another hurricane? Like, how many times am I going to be looked at as, well, this is just expected of you? So I do think that there's a limit. I think that there's a boundary, and I don't think that it should just, no matter what the victim has gone through, I don't think that necessarily it should be assumed by the victim that everything's going to be free for a period of time.
I can understand that. I still just feel like it's a little bit of a gut punch.
Oh, I agree. I agree, especially
right
in the circumstance.
On the edge of taking advantage of some people.
See, again, I really like all the things that Elon's done in the last couple of months, specifically. Let's call it the last year, okay? I am not the Elon fan I used to be, all right? I'm just not. I don't like some of the things that he's done or said. I think he's being ridiculous. I think he needs to really have somebody step in and go, hey, bring it down a notch. Let's get back to being...
Let's turn that volume.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
You don't need to be involved in politics. And he doesn't. He doesn't. Not on an open level like he is. He could be involved in politics behind the scenes and do a lot more and probably serve himself better if he just shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to learn how to shut the fuck up.
Isn't that a rule in life? Just, words to live by. Sometimes you just got to know when to shut your trap.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
It's a lost art farm. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you want to play a game? Can you give me...
Those are actually, let's back up a second. Those Saw movies are actually, and I've only seen like 2 or 3 of them, but to me, they're a lot scarier than most movies because of the
what if?
The what ifs.
What would you do?
Yeah, that to me gets me a lot more than a jump scare. That sticks with me longer because then I really do contemplate, what would I do if I woke up in this room and there's 2, 3, 4 other people and we've all got this task and it's a horrible task, but who's gonna live? You know what I mean? Like, I really, really wonder, like, how much, like, that sticks with me and haunts me a lot more than, boo, oh, you scared me, you fucker, you jumped out from behind the corner.
Well, you see, that's one of the things that I used to try to accomplish when designing a room in a haunted house. I didn't design a lot of jump scares. At my personal residence, when I would put on something, you got to do jump scares because they're fast, they're quick. People will run away. That's what people apparently do enjoy. But I would try to do more of a psychological thing. One of my favorites was always, they would enter a room that looked like a nursery and could not find a way out. And there was a little rocking chair that would just start rocking by itself.
Oh, anything with kids is fucking creepy.
And then you would hear a nursery rhyme, like a lullaby playing, and a little kid asking weird questions.
Yeah, see, like, that's
all
a lot.
The while you're trying to figure out how to get out, and this chair will just start rocking by itself.
See, I'm with you on that. It's just, I get the jump scare. I do. I think it's necessary in certain haunted houses. I think, it's something that people look for, especially in haunted hayrides. I do believe in the haunted scare. It's just not enjoyable to me. That's not enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like, what's enjoyable to me is actually not necessarily being scared in the moment, but being scared for an extended period of time because I'm thinking about what that circumstance is. That's why I like the Saw movies. That's why I like, what's the one where it's like one night of do anything? Purge. Because that shit to me is a lot fucking scarier when you have normal people who have for a night can just unleash fucking hell and you really get to see them for who they are. Oh, that's
one of the something along that lines. Yeah, maybe it was a sequel, but the binge and purge really irked me. You know what that is?
Yeah,
no, it's from Metallica.
So,
Yes.
so I don't know if you know this or not. I'm sorry. You were going to present something.
I was going to ask you a question of what two songs make you feel like Halloween is here or coming?
Oh,
That make you smile a little twisted glee.
see, I don't know that I've got Halloween songs necessarily.
I've got hundreds.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. It's just, I don't know that I could pinpoint one down. I will say that there's a song that I always find myself listening to this time of year, and I'm not quite sure why, aside from the fact that it's kind of got a haunting little rhythm and beat to it and melody, is Uninvited by Alanis Morissette.
I've never heard it.
Well, then we can't talk about it. But it came from the movie that Nicolas Cage was an angel who fell in love with a mortal, and then he became mortal, and things didn't quite necessarily work out or whatever. I forget the details of the movie, but it was an interesting movie. It was interesting. I won't say it was a great movie, but the song has got this haunting rhythm to it that I actually do like, because whenever I'm trying to kind of get into the Halloween spirit, and like I said, it typically comes around October. I find myself, I'll go all year without listening to it, completely forget the song exists, and then be like, I want something that kind of reminds me of Halloween, blah, 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 and I'll end up there. How about you?
Well, two songs that puts me in that mood. It's not, on my playlist, because I have an entire Halloween music folder. Music that goes back to the turn of the century.
Really?
Yes, that much of a nerd.
Fucking A, you are.
But today's two picks, because I'm going to do this again next week.
Okay.
And so you got some homework to do. But one is called The Dead Man's Stroll by the Revels from 1959.
Okay.
It's a great song.
Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to worry about bullshit fucking, like getting flagged for playing that, at least a clip of that song?
Damn ass cap.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I think that when you're promoting something in a positive, especially, you should be allowed to play it on a podcast or, YouTube or whatever. Like when you're talking in the positive about something, or you're talking about the impact that something had in a positive way, you should be allowed to play it. I mean, I don't understand that. That's a particular copyright rule I disagree with. And I'm very big on copyright. Okay, just like free speech. I'm very big on those things. But that's one that I don't get, because when you're promoting something for somebody else, specifically in the positive, I don't understand why they won't let you play it, but they won't.
Yeah, especially something as old as some of these tunes, where I don't even think the copyright still is around.
No, but we would still get flagged. We would still get flagged on YouTube. We'd still get flagged on
the money goes nowhere.
Where's it go? It goes nowhere. Anyway.
The second song is from 1958, and it is Dinner with Drac from John Zachary, who was a very influential horror movie host.
Ah, okay. I can see
John
that.
Zachary is awesome. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But it's a great tune.
So was he like up there with Elvira as far as like horror movie hosts?
He was long before. This is...
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, would he have been considered of that caliber? Because I think...
Yes.
I think...
there were several prolific horror movie hosts that came before Elvira. She became famous because of her tits.
Right.
And her sense of humor.
But she was not only attractive, but she, and had a great body and all that, and put her tits out there.
Yeah.
But she was funny. She was incredibly funny. In fact, here's
the
something.
Reverse sexism.
I will give you something that I bet you didn't know. I actually used to work for a club owner who used to date her.
Really?
Yeah. And
I did not know.
And I heard some amazing stories about what a wonderful person she was.
Oh, yeah.
How fun loving, and just like, He said, he goes, it didn't work out because it didn't work out, but it wasn't because of anything like bad between us. It just was like the scheduling and the, locations. She lived at that time, I believe, in LA. He lived if I'm not mistaken, at that time he lived in Indiana. So it was a long-term relationship, and it was difficult to maintain. But he said one of the nicest and most and he's like, when she's out of makeup and everything like that and just normal, just the kindest, sweetest, bubbliest, funnest person he'd ever been around. So now there were some famous ones, obviously. I don't remember. I may be misspeaking on this, but didn't Vincent Price for a period of time, like during the Halloween season, didn't he used to do like a weekend type horror thing?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
No.
Well, we had the Ghoul.
Yes, the Ghoul from Detroit.
Yeah, we had the Ghoul in Detroit.
From the Detroit area, there were several, actually. 3 off the top of my head.
Well, we had the Ghoul.
Yes.
We had Bill Kennedy, which I wouldn't consider.
I'm not familiar with Bill Kennedy.
Get the fuck out of here. How do you not know Bill Kennedy? And how did you grow up in our house?
Bill Kennedy.
Bill Kennedy at the movies, 1:00 every weekday?
No. Not a clue.
God, I'm ashamed of you.
But
we'll get into that one off air, because that's you're going to get an earful on that one. Anyway.
Well, let me Google his picture really quick.
Oh, you'll know him. And if you don't, I will really be pissed. So Bill Kennedy was the main guy who did local TV, but he would do from 1 to like 3:00. So he was the filler in between I Love Lucy or, Andy Griffin or, whatever. And that would end right around 12:30, 1:00. And then at 1:00, Bill Kennedy at the movies would come on. And Bill Kennedy would, he'd sit behind his desk, smoking cigarette, drinking, I think he was drinking a scotch usually. And it was probably
I definitely recognize his voice.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. The first thing that pops up is he was the one who did the "It's the bird, it's the plane" for Superman.
Right.
Oops, my hat just fell.
So
the ghost of Bill Kennedy saying, "What the fuck, dude?" But yeah, he was on WKBD channel 50 in Detroit.
Yep. And I'm sure he was hammered the entire time he was in the studio. Right?
There was, of course, Count Scary.
Oh, I forgot about Count Scary.
That's right.
I totally forgot about Count Scary. And then who's the third?
Are you telling me you don't know who the other person is?
I'm drawing a blank. I forgot about Count Scary, though. Ooh, that's true. Scary. I remember it now. Yeah.
Sir Graves Ghastly.
Oh, my God. How did I forget Sir Graves Ghastly? Oh, my God. That's a blast.
I loved his fucking laugh. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
I thought about using Sir Ghastly Graves as a basically a stage name as a tribute to him, but I don't think I'd be able to get away with it.
I don't think you could get away with it. Yeah. You might be able to get away with the Ghoul, but you wouldn't. I don't even think you could get away with Count Scary. Ooh, that's scary. That was his line, wasn't it?
Yeah, every opener he'd be running from his classic car to Bob Seger's old time rock and roll, trying to run to the stage theater,
right,
to get going because he was running late. But yeah, Count Scary, Sir Graves Ghastly, and the Ghoul.
Those and see, that's the thing you miss with television nowadays. Like back in the day, you had local TV stations that were filling. Every market had their local guy. Mm-hmm. And every market would have that period of time that they had to fill with programming, which was usually just old movies.
There's technically a fourth. I think he retired though recently, which is Wolfman Mac.
I never knew of Wolfman Mac.
Oh yeah, Wolfman Mac. Shout out to you, man. But each market had a particular host. I'm trying to remember some of the other ones. There, obviously nowadays you have Svengoolie.
Yeah, Svengoolie. But what was I'm just drawing a blank on these things because I don't focus on this as much as I probably should. What was the HBO Tales from the Crypt? What was his the host?
Yes.
What was his name?
Crypt Keeper.
But didn't he have a name besides the Crypt Keeper?
No.
No, you sure it wasn't like Joe, the crypt keeper? Alex.
George.
Sean. Kyle.
There was a
Kyle the crypt
Count
keeper.
Gore Duvall. There was a Mr. Creep or Dr. Creep. Obviously, the great and famous vampire, who was the subject of a Misfits tune that I still love.
Vampire was?
Sinister Seymour. Yeah, Vampire.
I did not know she was a part of a Misfit song.
Yeah, it's called Vampire.
I guess I never heard it, though. My point being, I never heard it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One of my personal favorite Misfit songs. Morgus the Magnificent. No. Any ringing any bells? No.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
I'm so frustrated with you.
Oh, you're frustrated with me? We still have to get over Bill Kennedy at the movies. So I don't want to hear any shit from you. Bill Kennedy was on every fucking day.
His Halloween costume was a scotch and a glass.
Yeah, but that was what but that's the thing is he dressed up.
No.
He dressed up with the scotch, the glass, and the cigarette every fucking show. so you know what? He was Halloween.
That's special.
He was in costume.
That's me on a Tuesday.
He was in costume 24/7, 365. But let's not.
Interesting to note that Sir Graves Ghastly would do a show in Detroit and a show in Cleveland. And so he would take one of those short commute planes from Cleveland to Detroit 3 times a week, I do believe.
See, though, people don't realize that Detroit used to be like a very large market as far as television.
It's now technically, I think, a tier 3 when it comes to even concert bands. They'll skip Detroit because it's not as much money anymore.
Yeah, but it used to be.
Sir Graves Ghastly would fly and woke up late one day, missed the plane, and it crashed, and everyone on board was killed.
Ooh.
After that, he only took a bus. He took a 6-hour bus because he swore off flying.
From Cleveland, it took 6 hours on a bus?
A bus, yeah. A public bus.
Because Cleveland to Detroit's only like a 3-hour ride.
Yeah, but think of all the stops.
Yeah, that's true. Why wouldn't he just fucking drive?
I don't know.
That seems a bit excessive.
Flying after that was
people don't realize though. People don't realize this though. Especially in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the 4 major markets for television. You obviously had your coasts, New York and L.A., but there was a fight between Detroit and Chicago.
Yes. Detroit
usually came up 4th instead of 3rd because Chicago had just a bigger infrastructure for it. But Detroit
WGN.
But here's what people don't realize about Detroit. Detroit was massive for commercials. So there were more commercials being shot in Detroit. Now, do you know why? Do you know why so many commercials were shot in Detroit?
I have no idea.
Because the people who were investing in commercials were the big 3. So they were just doing it in their own backyard. So they would just shoot.
Bill Bonds his drink.
Oh my God, Bill Bonds.
I'm Bill Bonds. And that commercial kind of made me horny.
Yeah. Bill Bonds, we're back with the news, and God damn it, I'm drunk. Let's fuck with Mayor Coleman Young.
Yeah.
I used to watch them. I used to watch them get in.
Coincidentally.
They would get in fights.
The Anchorman.
Was
Will
based
Ferrell's
on
The Anchorman was based on Bill Bonds.
Now, was it Bill Bonds that it was based on, or was it Mort Krim?
No, it was Bill Bonds because he was outrageous like that behind the scenes.
Bonds absolutely was, but I heard that it was partially Mort Krim as well.
Yes. Mort Krim's announcing abilities and Bill Bonds' personality.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, wasn't Mort Krim a bit of a anti-feminist as well? I know Bill Bonds was like...
Bill Bonds was.
Definitely.
Mort Krim is... I cannot say that about Mort Krim. Every time I've heard him talk, retired, such a super cool guy. He does the spots for that Detroit show where he says ridiculous things. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I said Bill Bonds, but it's technically Mort Krim who does I'm Mort Krim, and that commercial made me horny.
Oh, he will say that? Yeah. That's fucking funny.
That commercial made me a little horny.
Bill Bonzo was a fucking animal. He was off the hook. And I'm
He was
surprised.
the real deal.
I'm surprised that Bill Bonds had such an impact that it would reach to the point where Will Ferrell would be like, that's the guy I'm basing this off of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the dude.
He had a bit of a reputation.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did.
Yes, a little bit of a reputation.
But let's think about this. So we knew that like Bill Bonds would go out drinking before he had to do the news, and then he'd go out drinking after he did the news, and then he'd wake up and start drinking again. But he was always in a fucking pissing match with Coleman Young, Mayor Coleman Young.
Yes, absolutely.
And at that,
because he wouldn't hold back with
he didn't,
anyone in leadership.
No, he didn't.
There was a hardball question. He was throwing it like, a Tiger's pitcher.
Yeah, a total fastball right down the middle. Fuck you. And the thing of it is no matter how hammered he was, I think there were only one or two times where they had to take him off set, right? But
Probably.
that actually, to me, that represents an awesome time in not only television news, but it also represents a time of, okay, that's how tough fucking it was in Detroit, where our news people were fucking hammered and ready to fight. Like ready to fight. Like Bill Bonds was ready to throw knuckles. All the time. And did get
People
into
meet you in the back alley.
Yeah. And he would tell you that. I'm gonna meet you out back. Like he was a badass motherfucker. And that in that period of time, I think he was, for all of his faults, and he had many, right? Based by today's standards. But for all of his faults, he was absolutely the man for that time. You know what I mean? Like he was the man for that time. Like people don't realize, like Bill Bonds would get into fucking bar fights. When you got a newscaster, when your fucking anchor goes out and gets into bar fights, it goes back to like Pampa Lanes when the Lions would go and party at Pampa Lanes and you'd have, what's his face, Papadopoulos. That was on Webster?
George Papadopoulos.
Yeah, George Papadopoulos. Damn.
Now I'm going to have to look up his name.
Yeah, please do.
Because it's killing me.
But he was notorious. Now here's a little tidbit you won't know. My buddy Dan, right? You've known him forever. And me and Dan have been, best friends for fucking 30 plus years. More than that. Probably going on 40 years now.
Alex Karras,
right? So
which, talk about a character change. Everybody's favorite dad on Webster, George Papadopoulos, Alex Karras. You take him out of that situation and put him on a football field, he's going to break your fucking kneecaps.
Not only is he going to
coming for your neck and your head.
You have no idea.
And then your family afterwards.
So here's the story, right? My buddy Dan, his grandfather, and oddly, was named Bat. Okay, just like the old cowboy,
Bat Masterson.
Yep. So just like Bat Masterson, this was also Bat Masterson, and he was the bartender at Pampa. And this dude, I met him when he was like 77, right? Mm-hmm. And he shook my hand, and it was like shaking hands with a bear. I mean, this guy had, you could tell this dude had been through some shit. So he is now, he's all retired, living up north or whatever, right? We go up there, me and my buddy Dan and Hoppy, we go up there to visit his grandpa. And we're hearing these stories, right? Now, we'd already heard a lot of these stories from Dan, but it's better hearing it from the guy who lived it. And he goes, if you knew how many glass pitchers I broke over Lions' heads, including Karras. He goes,
oh yeah,
Alex Karras was the toughest son of a bitch I'd ever met, and he knew that if I picked up a pitcher and I started walking towards him, I was going to bust it on him somewhere, right? Usually his fucking head. And he goes, and the guy wouldn't back down. Like, he's like, even at that, they were not afraid. He's like, they tore up that fucking bar so many times. And there were so many times I had to pick up ashtrays and throw at people. And I had to, just those old 70s glass real pitchers, not the fucking plastic bullshit that they serve today, the real heavy duty, like they were 7 pounds of glass, right? He would just start fucking whipping those things at people. And I'm like, that is not, like, isn't that the world you kind of want to live in, but are glad that you don't? Like, I would love to watch that happen. I would love to have experienced that time in that man's life.
There's a bar that I used to frequent weekly that we were just next door when we went out for Dad's birthday dinner the other day.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna say the bar because of the story. And I used to go there weekly.
And I'm guessing it's the one that's right on the corner there.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And we'd be in there, and there was a fellow that all the time, super nice guy. We'd have a couple of beers, play some darts. One night he comes in and he starts handing out little plastic passes to everybody. And everybody's like, what is this for? And so we're all sitting there reading this, and it's a pass to go to his NFL Hall of Fame induction.
Oh, get the fuck out, really?
He was renting a bus so that we all could get on and go to the NFL Hall of Fame because he was being inducted.
No shit.
I won't say his name.
No.
Because I don't want people to start going to that bar. But he was in there 2-3 times a week. All the time.
Cool. That's
Had no clue. Drinking with this guy, playing darts with him. No idea. NFL Hall of Famer.
No shit. All right.
Yeah.
Back to Halloween. Back to Halloween.
All
right. So I'm gonna hold you.
For you.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire because last podcast.
Hold my feet to the fire.
Last podcast, I asked you because you have done more actual ghost hunting than anyone I've ever met.
Yes.
You are probably just shy of having, as far as like the guys that have the TV shows, have you beat. But as far as people that don't have TV shows, I don't know that there's anyone else out there that has done as much, as long, and as consistent as you have ghost hunting. And I asked you, what was your favorite real haunted house last episode? And you didn't have a readily available answer. You said you needed time to think about that. So based on, and I'll even give you I'll give you 2 or 3 if you need them. Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably need a few.
Okay. But if you had to, and try to put them in reverse order, 3, 2, 1, if you can. If you can't, if it's like, I don't know, I can't compare, fine. But give me 3.
Able to put them in order, but I've got a handful that they're not quite houses. In fact, I don't think any of them are.
Okay.
But locations.
Fair enough.
Say.
Yeah. Because an insane asylum could be haunted and be way scarier than a house that may or may not be haunted. Just because of the overall environment.
There's so many. Right off the bat, I'm going to say one of the best. It wasn't a house. It was actually a basement. And it is technically the basement of a U.S. postal office.
Okay.
Because the post office was built where the original structure was. And it is in Chicago. And it happens to be the basement, the actual basement from the building originally. But it was nicknamed the Murder Castle.
Okay. So what they did basically is they said the foundation's solid. We'll just build off of that foundation. And they
tore it down because of it was a hotel, and it was built in 1893, 96 maybe.
Okay.
And it was torn down in 1938. But it was famous because of who built it and what he did there, which is H.H. Holmes. Don't know if you're familiar with H.H. Holmes.
All right. So I don't know that I am, but if I'm going to take a guess, which I'm willing to do here. All right.
Yes.
This is, you said it was originally a hotel. Is this the hotel?
He built it.
Yes. But is this the hotel that in the basement specifically, he would torture his victims?
Yes.
All right. So I think I know the story here, but please elaborate.
Apparently, the story goes, if he had a problem with you, or if you couldn't quite pay, you became one of his victims.
And
He had
wasn't
closets
that would shoot right down to the basement, right?
correct, where they would be in a limestone bath or whatever. That doesn't sound right.
No, it was maybe a lime.
Yeah, lime, which would help break down flesh. But there were other things down there. But walking into this basement,
Well,
we
stop
got
for a
stories.
second.
Yes.
Is again, I just want to make sure I'm thinking of the right person.
Mhm.
Didn't he have it set up to where like in every room potentially there was like a booby trap that could drop you down into the basement?
Correct.
Okay.
I do know it wasn't every room,
but most.
because that's just not feasible, but there was at least one on every floor.
So that might be the
Yeah.
room that he gave you as an upgrade after you were an asshole.
Yes. I could definitely see that. And the idea behind, what was the movie Johnny Depp was in? Oh gosh.
Sweeney Todd?
Yes, Sweeney Todd. That idea is based off of H.H. Holmes.
Okay.
The chair dumps back, drops him down a chute. That idea came from H.H. Holmes, who was also, they to this day wonder if he was not actually Jack the Ripper.
Ah, yes, I've heard that too.
And very fascinating story. He was executed in Pennsylvania. I did see his tombstone. It's a little marker when I was in Pennsylvania, which leads me to a whole nother choice, which is I've been to a lot of buildings, some houses that were haunted, but some of my favorite areas were actually cemeteries.
Really?
I'm a big proponent that, if you want a good cut of meat, you go to the butcher.
That's one way of putting
dead
it.
bodies, cemeteries. And I'm usually not disappointed. So if you ever want to have a moment where you might become a believer, join me on a trip to a cemetery.
See, I you know what? I just never.
Just the other night, I was in a cemetery at about 1 o'clock in the morning.
First off, I have no interest in being in a cemetery at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd rather be in bed.
I was actually looking for Northern Lights. We did it again last night. Beautiful viewing. The other half couldn't see him because she wears glasses, but I could see. I know what to look for. So I got to see some funky skies and a couple of comets. We're going to go back out tonight, and I've got my camera ready.
Now, are you going to record or bring any of your equipment, your ghost hunting equipment with you?
No, I just want to take pictures of the sky.
Gotcha.
And we happened to go to that cemetery because there were no lights, just open field, and you could look north.
So would you say a cemetery is the scariest place you've ever been? Like, where have you been because I know you don't get scared with this shit at all.
Yeah, I don't really.
But there has to be at least one instance where you were like, okay, I felt that go down my spine and I'm going to get the fuck out of here right now.
We were in a cemetery. I won't name it because I don't want people to go there and
overrun
whatever.
It. Yeah.
I'm just one of those people. But we were in a particular cemetery and in the middle of nowhere, just happened to drive by and was like, oh, let's check out that. It was like the size of somebody's front yard, small, out of the way, walked in and started up the recorders because I'm a big EVP guy. I feel like there is no refuting EVPs. And something that was not us, you could hear it say, I want you out right now. And we can't hear that.
No, you couldn't hear it until you replayed it.
You can only hear it afterwards.
Right.
But what did happen was in the recording, you hear a distinct slap. I don't know if you could hear that.
No, I couldn't hear it.
But, it slapped me. Something unseen slapped me across the face.
Did you feel it?
And Oh yeah. Oh, I could hear it. I felt it. It was in the recording. You could hear it.
Really?
And in true fashion, I just started giggling.
Which, for those who don't know you, is exactly how you respond in those in any type of circumstance where it's like tense. Like typically, that's you almost get a nervous laugh about you, almost like dad in those circumstances.
I'm just fucking weird.
Yeah, no, you are. You're absolutely fucking weird. Because I would have shit my pants and fucking been in the car before it even touched my underwear.
There was another instance. I was late to work. I missed my exit and got off of 696 and was driving down one of the mile roads trying to get to work. And I was coming up to a red light. I'm the only person around. It's like midnight. And I just happened to look to my left because there was a cemetery. Again, I won't name it, but I saw a woman in a big dress. And my first instinct was, oh, that's cool. People are ghost hunting. I wonder what group it is. And then I looked back over, and then it dawned on me, it's only one person. And that's not a dress you would normally go out and ghost hunt in.
See, I think this is where we're different.
And I did that stop. I'm at a red light and looked around, no other cars, slapped my car to park, opened my car door, and started running towards the cemetery.
Did you really?
And as I'm running across the street to the cemetery, I could see her kind of turn to look over her shoulder. She disappeared as she looked at me.
Oh,
and I went, holy fuck, did that just happen?
And then you had to stop running. Oh my God, you just froze up. You should see the... I got to actually hit pause on this because you are totally frozen. Hold on. And we're back. You were totally frozen like, ah.
Yeah, I got a little message that said, your internet is unstable all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That's so coincidence.
So to kind of wrap it up, I know you're a big believer in ghosts. I'm not. I have a lot of friends and family members, extended family members that believe in ghosts. I have had multiple stories that have crossed my path. I personally have not seen or experienced anything. And it's not to say that I don't believe that it's possible. I just have not had that experience. To me, it's like UFOs. Well, okay.
If we stick around, if we have to stay around for a while and we get knee deep into November, I should make it a point to take you somewhere.
All right. I'm willing to go. I'm willing to go. I'm not afraid.
It happens every November 23rd.
Okay.
I won't say where because I don't want to
flood the place.
Add attention.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to stay. I've been there 3 times. It's always a crapshoot if the police kick you out or not. But one evening, I will say this. A friend of mine and I got there. The year prior, we had a great experience there. As in shit went down.
Okay.
And the following year, there was a big police presence because people show up. When I originally got there, the year prior, there was an RV, a Class A there, that had probably 15 people in it, ready for the event. And so it's got a reputation.
See, I guess that's my thing is like I look at ghosts much like I look at UFOs. Now, when it comes to UFOs, I am a believer. I know I have seen some shit that I don't really want to talk about and that I cannot explain. And I'm willing to admit that, but whether or not I'm willing to go into the full disclosure of what my experiences were, and again, I don't know if those were real or if they were hallucinations, whether they were dreams, whether they were the imagination of a child. Those are things that have haunted me from my earliest memories. All right. So for me, it's something that's consistently been there.
I try to explain the paranormal, like the ghost phenomena, like this. It's, time does not move congruently, contrary to what our minds perceive. And it's like a radio. You you tune a radio to a specific frequency. And
Which you could argue,
mean,
you could argue is a different dimension.
yes.
So like that's
Multiverse.
Multiverse. So string theory, multiverse, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
This is the reason why I don't dismiss it out of hand. Just because I haven't experienced something doesn't mean that it can't be possible. But until I've experienced something, I can't necessarily say I'm a full-blown believer. So I don't doubt your experiences.
Got to see it to believe it type.
Yeah. So I don't doubt your experiences or any of the experiences that I've heard from anyone else. I'm not doubting that you had that experience or you felt that you had that experience, whether you did or you didn't. I mean, that's entirely up for debate. But being somebody that comes at it from not a ghost level or anything other than my experiences with unidentified flying objects, that, like I said, for me, goes back to some of my earliest memories, and not just singular memories, multiple memories. As a child, as a teen, and as an adult, I've had multiple experiences. Does it mean that I saw a UFO? No, it doesn't mean I saw a UFO. It just means that I saw something that I could not identify. Does it mean that it was from, outer space or another dimension? No, it just means that there was something that was flying around that was behaving funky, or that there was something I saw that I could not identify. All right. And that goes even to like biologicals. I believe that I have seen them. Whether I've actually seen them or not, I don't know. I'm relying on the memory of a child. Okay. I'm relying on the memory of a preteen. I'm relying on the memory of a teenager. I'm not relying on the memory of an adult. So I don't know if that's a reality or if that's not a reality. I do tend to believe that it was a reality, just as your experiences. And I don't think we should discount these things. There's plenty of things that we don't understand and we, quite frankly, can't comprehend. Ghosts are definitely one of them. And I want to take this further, but we're hitting our hour point, and so let's continue this conversation, because
you got it.
I think that
I've got a bunch more stories.
Yeah, I'd love to experiment more with this. and look, we might even have to throw a bonus episode in. You know what I mean, this month, because there's so many great spooky things that we can talk about. So maybe we'll do that. I'll tell you what, let's do this. If we get 10 subscribers on YouTube, if we get 3 emails, Elsie's Little Pickles at gmail.com, saying that you want one, just tell us if you want one extra bonus episode or 2. We'll do it.
You know what? If we get a request for a bonus episode, I will reveal one of the locations.
I like that idea. And with that, that's another Elsie's Little Motherfucking Pickles.